What's up, everyone? It's your man, Sean Zattel. Just got done doing the live round by round for the fights today. And want to give my reaction here to Conor Benn and Tyson Fury, both giving what I'll call off the bat C-level performances in their fights today, both winning handily against Regis Prograis and Makhmudov. Start with Fury. I think what I called it just now on Twitter was Fury, Joshua, and Wilder are now at their Las Vegas act stage of their careers. You know, when performers would go to Las Vegas, especially back in the days, maybe not as much now, but towards the end of their careers, when they still had a name that could sell on a consistent basis, they would go to Vegas when they weren't really in their prime anymore, and that's how they kind of finish out their careers. I think that's the stage that Fury, Wilder, and Joshua are on. And this fight with Makhmudov was in the same ballpark as Wilder, Chisora, in terms of the level it was fought at, the skill level and everything. I think Wilder and Chisora was obviously a funner fight with more fun moments and knockdowns, and Chisora being hurt multiple times, Wilder being hurt once. In this fight, not as much fun. It really deteriorated in the second half into a very sloppy clinch fest. But Makhmudov, he really didn't let it all hang out in the second half of the fight. I think Mark Ramsey had a good game plan for him that started well. He hit Tyson Fury with a right hand over the top in the first 15 seconds of the fight, made him uncomfortable. But down the second half of the fight, I mean, he just clinched a lot. And Tyson Fury, he knows how to fight when he's exhausted, like Emmanuel Stewart used to say. So in each and every clinch, Fury would just pound away at his flesh with a free hand, work the body, not with any leverage most of the time, just working the free hand like Chisora was doing to Wilder last week. But the fight got, it lost any suspense it had. At least in the first half of the fight, Makhmudov was catching Fury with some right hands, would catch him with a few left hooks. Caught him with a good left hook in the fourth round that buzzed Fury. Would punch with Fury when Fury would stick in some uppercuts. But basically, Fury is very deteriorated, not what he was. Hell, you guys, a lot of you guys made me feel bad for using words like shot and wash to describe fighters last week. So I'll use it again to keep it fair here. Fury is washed at this point, like Deontay is. But really, just past his prime. Now, Fury still shows that some of those beautiful feints and that beautiful up jab, where he feint out of both stances, southpaw, orthodox, and then snipe with that beautiful up jab. And that is Larry Holmes-esque from Tyson Fury and always has been a part of his game. And he still had enough reflexes to get out of dodge sometimes. As the fight went on, he got bullied to the ropes a little bit less, although he got pinned on the ropes a lot in this fight. Wasn't able to keep it in the center of the ring all the time, especially early. But he eventually was able to switch stances, control the fight with the up jab. But Fury has no power anymore. Right? He was never a big puncher, but he had enough power to win the second and third Wilder fights by stoppage and by knockout. But this time, the last several years, even going back to the Ngannou fight, I think because that the last time he got a stoppage was Chisora and Dillian White. But since the Ngannou fight, and he's always been a guy who would slap with some of his shots, but he just isn't generating any thud on his punches anymore. He got Usyk's attention in their first fight with a right uppercut a few times, some body shots in both fights, but and I'll get to why that matters in a fight with Joshua in a little bit, but he just can't really punch anymore. And he's more hittable than he used to be. He's always been a guy who can make it ugly on the inside and lean on you and things like that, but his volume, he's still consistent with that jab. He still has the nice up jab, and he still landed some nice uppercuts, the right uppercut, the left uppercut, but it never really hurt Makhmudov. I think the best shot that got Makhmudov's attention is he turned southpaw towards the end of the third round in the last 10 seconds, threw a left uppercut, right hook, and that got Makhmudov's attention, made him back up and kind of settled him down because he was bullying Fury early. But it was a sloppy fight. It was an ugly fight. Fury's not in his prime. He's well past his best. And I mentioned the good things he still can show in there at times. But I think Anthony Joshua is the favorite to beat him at this stage of their careers. I think, but before I get to that, again, Makhmudov's effort in the second half was disappointing because Fury has made a lot more money than him. Fury has been champion unlike he has. Fury's older than him, but he just dug down. He worked in each and every clinch. And he still fought when exhausted. And Makhmudov's body language wasn't good in the second half of the fight, but he is what he is, Arslanbek Makhmudov. But just for comparison's sake, Makhmudov's other 2 losses are by stoppage, and he got stopped by Guido Vianello, who's a fringe contender, and Tyson Fury couldn't replicate what Guido Vianello does. So that tells you a lot about what's left of Tyson Fury. And I think Joshua's well past his best too. But one problem for Joshua, since the Ruiz fight is sometimes he gets the yips, and then also if you could take advantage of his punch resistance, I don't think Fury can really do that anymore. So one of the key chinks in Joshua's armor, I don't know if Fury could really exploit anymore. And so I'm saying all 3 of them are in their Las Vegas act. I think Anthony Joshua definitely has the potential to be the cleanup hitter and take out Wilder and Fury and be the last man standing. He keeps himself in better shape than Fury, and he's not as old as Wilder. I think he still generates snap and torque on his shots, Joshua. And Joshua is kind of underrated as an all-time puncher, and he's got it with 2 fists. He wasn't just a right-hand puncher like Wilder. He can knock you out with the left hook or the right hand or the uppercut. And he's always been fundamentally sound, except for some of those odd mechanics he displayed in that Dubois fight, which is the last time he fought a fresh body. But none of these guys are fresh like Dubois was when he knocked out Joshua last time out. And Fury, I think, would have beaten Joshua in their primes. I think he has a stylistic advantage. He's still, in a lot of ways, and I know my hair is looking messed up as usual, but he's still in a lot of ways more fluid, and he's more fluid heavyweight than Anthony Joshua. I still think he's going to touch Joshua. I still think he's going to frustrate and give Joshua some fits, but ultimately, he's not as slippery as he used to be. He has to take breaks in those clinches. And I think Joshua can get to him. And I think Joshua can still crack. And I think the power shots Joshua throws still have snap and torque and are still very dangerous. And again, Joshua keeps himself in better shape. So I think Joshua is the favorite over Fury. I think he's the favorite over Wilder. And I think he could potentially end this stage of their career for all 3 of them on top and beat them both. I think in Wilder and Joshua's prime he was rangier. Joshua definitely more fundamentally sound than Deontay Wilder and has 2-fisted power instead of that one hand. But I think Wilder was rangier. He was able to cover more ground with that right hand. And on the outside, where Joshua could be a sitting duck, standing upright, a little stiff sometimes, he would have his little rhythm side to side and keep his hands in place. Again, more fundamentally sound, but I think Wilder might have been able to snipe him with a right hand. Someone would have got knocked out, and someone still would get knocked out if they fight, and that's why some people still want to see that fight, even though all the fighters, as aforementioned, are well past their prime. So I think, though, that Joshua has a little bit more in the tank than the other 2, and I think Joshua is the favorite over both of them, and I think this division... these 3 still have a name, but I think this division, it's about Moses Itama right now in his ascension. And it's about Alexander Usyk, who is, 39 and still at the late stage of his reign as both a pound-for-pound and heavyweight king. But I think the real story that drives this division now is Itama going to fight the winner of Dubois-Wardley, which I'm favoring it to be Wardley? And is he going to fight Cabello? And is he going to fight the winner of that Dubois-Wardley fight, or both guys? Is he going to fight Wardley and Cabello? And is he going to get his hands on some hardware and make everyone in the boxing world say he's ready? And this is the fight, Usyk. Are you going to stick around? Are you going to retire off into the sunset? Or are you going to do the old lion versus the young lion? That's what this division revolves around right now. And shout out to Richard Torres, who I think is going to beat Frank Sanchez. I think, he's like, he has the potential to be the Sean Porter of the heavyweight division. Not necessarily the guy who's going to wind up becoming the king, but he can give, through his conditioning and effort and grit and some overlooked skill set to him. He could give those guys their hands full and surprise people in that regard. But I think the division right now is about Moses Saitama's ascension, number one, and Usyk's late reign, still being the king, still firing on all cylinders. And are those two paths going to collide? That is what the heavyweight division's about. And the respectable title holders with a lot of momentum who are in their prime, and Caballel and Wardley. That's what the heavyweight division is about. Joshua, Fury, and Wilder are at their Las Vegas stage act of their careers. And I lean towards Joshua to be the last man standing in that trio and play the cleanup hitter in the third hole, to use a baseball term. Now, on to Conor Benn and Regis Prograis. Again, C performance by Conor Benn, and I'm almost tempted to give more credit to Prograis because he came closer to fully realizing his best realistic scenario. Now, the ideal scenario, you win the fight. And I actually had Conor Benn winning a shutout. And I know Netflix and the judges gave Regis Prograis a couple of rounds. I actually thought Conor Benn won every round. I'm not mad if you have a 98-92. It's, there's some close rounds in there. But I actually thought Conor Benn won every round. But Regis Prograis, he actually enacted the best scenario for him, which was not get knocked out, not get hurt, not get embarrassed, and get this check on Netflix and go back home safely. And he did that. And he made Conor Benn not look world level. Conor Benn didn't look like a real threat to Devin Haney or to Shakur Stevenson or to Ryan Garcia. Put it this way, because some of the fights that were being tossed around for Conor Benn were Ryan Garcia or Jaron Ennis or Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson. Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson would school the Conor Benn I saw today, I believe, and Ryan Garcia and Jaron Ennis, definitely Ennis, I think would stop him. And Conor Benn, he was weary of the power of Prograis still, and Prograis has no legs left. Prograis almost went down a couple times without getting hit with a shot. In the first round, his legs were all over the place without clean punches landing, just partial shots landing. And then he was out on his feet at the end of the first round from a sharp straight right hand. And then after that, this is where I was impressed with Prograis, even though I gave every round to Benn. His defense tightened up. It really was head movement, because he didn't even have like full on weight with the waist movement like Canelo or something like that, or young Tyson or Frazier. It was just little subtleties. He'd dip his head down, get his inch, his chin an inch or two off the line, and make Conor Benn not as accurate as he wants. Really Conor Benn had his best success to the body in the 7th round, where he started to shorten up his shots and get to the body. Conor Benn did make a few adjustments in this fight. When he was missing his right hand, he'd clean up with the left hook. He was smart enough in the second half to say, go to the body more. That was an adjustment, but he didn't put it all together effectively enough to create something impressive. Even Regis Prograis was his body language was saying, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed by your power. I'm not impressed by what you're doing. Although in the 7th round, I think Regis was feeling those body shots. I think in the late rounds, Regis was feeling those body shots, but the veteran had the pride of a champion and a good poker face. So he pulled through the full distance, and again, the pride of a champion and that veteran experience pulled him through that and made Conor Benn look average. And Conor Benn, he was just quicker hands, quicker feet, and he was able to get off 3 or 4 to 1. He was able to get his jab off first a lot more than Prograis. Prograis was too slow. Prograis tried to set some traps, and Benn was still respectful enough of the heavy hands to not really be the destroyer that consistently. He jumped in spots, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't that angry, consistent, trying to knock your head off Conor Benn. And he did look small at the weight, and he looks like a tweener now. It looks like in order for him to get his full snap on his shots and his power, he has to be fighting at a weight 154. There's nothing but sharks there. Xander Zayas would box his ears off. Fundora would stop him. Jaron would stop him. Virgil would stop him. And I think, Josh Kelly would beat him. So, it's what are you going to do if you're stronger at 54, but who are you going to beat there? And then at 47, he's not that strong. He's not hitting like that. So I think if Conor Benn wants to win a world title. He's the WBC mandatory. I don't think he beats Ryan Garcia. And maybe it's a boring fight because you saw he was very respectful of Regis's left hand. What if he fights like that against Ryan? What if he doesn't go for it like that and it's not that entertaining a fight? Because I think if he goes for it, Ryan could knock him out. So don't get me wrong. Conor's a good athlete and, you know, I thought a better puncher than he showed tonight. But maybe at this weight, he just can't. It takes something out of his power. Very possible. But I think if that's the case and you got to make the weights where you will have your power, you're just going to be outgunned at 54. Maybe even go to 60 since it's so thin there. Maybe go back to 6. I don't know. But if he wants to stick around welterweight and try to win a title, I think he's better off fighting Lewis Crocker or Rolly. You know, I think that is a competitive fight, him and Rolly. But Rolly has the power. He doesn't at this weight. So, you know, that's my thoughts on Conor Benn. Overall, I think even though I gave him every round, credit to him for that. And he did show some IQ in the second half, but it was a disappointing performance for him. And, yeah, I've said all I have to say about that. Overall, not that good a doubleheader on Netflix. So we'll see what we get next from everybody. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I've got to go to the Cosmopolitan in an hour or two. Brandon Adams, Gyarko, that main event got canceled. But I'm excited to see Julian Montalvo and Dylan Capatillo on the undercard. So, peace.